So anyway, it's Pal Drew again, and that was Eye of Fatima by Camper Van Beethoven. Yes, actually, Camper Van Beethoven changed to Cracker, and Cracker had a bunch of hits. And in fact, one time they had a show in Connecticut. I think Connecticut gets all the good concerts of like somewhat obscure acts like Marshall Crenshaw and stuff that, I mean, a lot of bands. I hit the sneeze button. So anyway, Firestorm, when it first came out, I loved the costume. I love it. Now, even though by 1978 this is an extremely corny costume, and he kept it for a good 50 plus issues. When they revived him in I think 2011, when this came out, it was sort of, they do synergy sort of stuff when they'll reprint stuff the same time a new book comes out. They changed him, and he was a different, his secret identity was a different character, and the costume was updated a bit, and it was neat and all. I actually liked it. I got the ink a few issue. What was it? Issue 22. I think I did 6 pages or so, but none of them had Firestorm on. They were just like talking head pages, and one of them was a guy holding up a bank. But oh well, I never got to draw Firestorm. So beautiful cover, and this is sweet because it covers all the bases of pre-Firestorm revival in '81. And this is some of Al Milgram's best stuff because it's inked by Klaus Janson and Joe Rubinstein. Both of them heavy influences on me. How about that double page spread with Lady Liberty and the it's just really great. And I think maybe because it says owned or created by Conway and Milgram, I don't know any legal stuff about that. It's kind of weird. So his character's so frustrating. I love the costume, but his powers are really odd. He can transform anything except living beings. He can, wrap you around with a lamppost, and but if you accidentally zaps a person, then he gets feedback. I guess it's not too bad because Valkyrie was that way with women. It's like if she raised a fist against another woman, she would feel pain deep in her gut. So I guess it's not. There's no there is a precedent. The thing that really bugs me is Ronnie Raymond. They flipped the script. Conway flipped the script on from Nova, which came out for a couple of years. DC Marvel. And it had a character who was a nerd. He got hit on by a bully who was the football player. And now Ronnie Raymond, our main character, is the football player and this smart-ass guy with the cool mutton chops, which was not in at all back then. He taunts and torments the jock. It's so ridiculous. And Ronnie's girlfriend she's ridiculous. She's like, oh, don't stoop to his level, blah, 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 blah. And she says, and he like punches the other guy back, Cliff Carmichael, and she gets real pissed off at him. And I just hate, I would be like, I'd rather be alone than with you. I would be, vamoose. So, but like I said, some of Bill Milgram's. God, why am I stuttering? You know what it is? There's a Steelers football game on in a couple hours, so I guess I'm distracted by that. So, I've become nuclear naked man. Behold the power of my glutes. So he comes up with this wild costume. Might as well have the duds to match. And I totally dig it. Well, what happened is both Ronnie Raymond and a professor had been caught up in a nuclear explosion, and now they share the same. It's sort of like Captain Marvel, the Kree Captain Marvel. Let's just say he's the Kree Captain Marvel, and instead of Rick Jones floating around in his head, it's the professor. And he gives him good advice, but sometimes the funny thing, the ongoing bit that they never did with Captain Marvel, I don't think, was that he would respond out loud, and people were like, what are you talking about? Who are you talking to? Now I love that part. You know, they were like, he sure is. You know, he's powerful and he's a good guy, but boy, is he weird. You know, he's talking to himself. So I covered this on my other channel, Random Comics from my spinner rack. Inked by Bob McLeod, another great inker. First time I heard of him was either on issue of Son of Satan at number 75, 1975. Please, I beg your patience. This is like my sixth try, and I'm getting flustered, baby. And also Defenders 25, which had the wrap-up of the Sons of the Serpent three-parter. So, Multiplex is cool. He's like Jamie Madrox from the X-Men. Now, Killer Frost. Look at his design. You know, she has this, like, sort of a flapper type design. Like, flappers were in the 20s and they always went to parties and dressed really outrageous and stuff. And she's not frigid. She just frees you down to the gut. Bob McLeod, inker. See, Milgram always needs a good inker. When he inks himself, it's not that great. Well, he first meets her. He goes, this is danger? Wow, I can handle this sort of trouble all the time. I must have misread the professor's signals. And just so the trip wasn't a total waste. Ow, what's going on? I can't break away. I'm starting to ice up. So she's a ice-making seductress. Now we go to the hyena. A neat character too. He's a bestial character. I don't want to say like the Beast. He's kind of like, I don't want to say Wolverine. Wolverine's really powerful. But like Timberwolf, when Timberwolf was revamped by, I can't remember who it was, if it was James Sherman or whether it was Keith Giffen. Anyway, last issue. Oh, no. Next to last issue. Who's the inker? Let's see. It doesn't even say. Oh, Jack Abel. Okay. And that's sweet. And like I said, I think Milgram really poured himself into this. He did a lot of stuff before that was great, but I think because he co-created it, he was more so invested in it than just like a fill-in here and there. And I don't even know how co-creator worked back then, because this came out, there was a copyright, a law that passed that if you're a freelancer for a comic and it was somebody else's character, then you got paid just a page rate and some royalties if the book sold well, but you didn't own the book. You couldn't go off and take this over to DC or any other company. So another double page spread. Like I said, Milgram's really kicking ass, and like I said, I totally love the professor being there. So he gets picked on, Cliff Carmichael, the nerdy bully. And I just don't get it. It's so ridiculous. I remember buying this too. Okay. Give me a second. Another thing that's interesting is the professor slowly becomes an alcoholic. He starts drinking periodically, and it's kind of messing up Firestorm. Hi, Firestorm. Can I copy that photo? Sure, but how about the hair bit? Does it hurt? And the professor says, go cram it in your ear, needle nose. Yeah, go cram it in your ear. Oh, did I say that? I don't feel so good. Maybe I should better be moving along. I hate the hiccup sound effects. I would rather have an onomatopoeia, kind of like what Alan Moore would use in his books. Now, canceled comics Kate. Well, Jack Cable on the inks. I'll say this again. There was a bunch of books that got canceled because of the there was a terrible winter. A lot of books didn't get distributed. A lot of books didn't sell or get to their whether drugstore or whatever, and so they lost a lot of sales. And canceled comics Cavalcade was a collected, photocopied book that had all the books that got the axe. They were finished, but they weren't published. So, but they did this to maintain the copyrights, and also it was good to have anyway. 35 copies were distributed amongst DC, people, not the creative guys, the people behind the scenes, editors and all these others, and it was a good thing they did that, because they had an issue one of Vixen, who showed up later in Justice League Detroit, and that issue is so bland, it's awful. So I'm glad somebody brought it back and made her interesting. Isn't that wild to see black and white? And this is the only place you'll find it until they maybe do an omnibus or a collection. So 6 was the last one. They got it done. And in the back of Flash, they added Firestorm, done by creator Jerry Conway, penciled by George Perez and Romeo Tangel, soon of the New Teen Titans fame. What's great is, just like Marvel, they went up to 50 cents, and instead of 75 pages, both companies went to 22 pages. So you had a couple of months of 17-page books, and they needed 5-page stories as a backup. So Flash had Firestorm as a backup. And similarly, there was just like Captain America had flashback with the Falcon, and also with just all kinds of characters. And Defenders had an episode with Clea, done by Sandy Plunkett. So beautiful. So these filled the pages, and it sort of made you want to buy the Flash at the time just for these. So anyway, what happens is the professor is having a breakdown. He doesn't know what's going on about him and Firestorm. So what happens is Ronnie Raymond comes up with an idea. Oh yeah, there's that terrible bully, the nerd, beating up Ronnie Raymond. So he and Ronnie sort of become pals in a sense, and it's only because they share the experience of the nuclear explosion of the power plant. He's like, whoop, where are my clothes? And he's trying to convince the professor that they're a team, and you'll get proof. So he's thinking, I love that kind of stuff. Except I don't know, that should not, the fire wouldn't have a silhouette. But that's just me thinking I'm better than the artist. George Perez again. Actually, I remember reading these at the comic shop, not the comic shop, but the drugstores and all that. I would just read the backup. I didn't buy the book because at the time I didn't care about Flash. How cool would it have been for Firestorm to be drawn by George Perez on a regular basis? And the main character of the book meets the backup guy. Okay. Let me get back to this. The funny thing is, the professor is in Firestorm's mind, much like the Kree Captain Marvel had Rick Jones floating around when he was in the negative zone. They would switch over, and he had the professor, and he was always advising him, but he started to develop an alcohol problem, so Firestorm was kind of woozy. Look at that bush blow up. What a trip. Hiya, Flashy. Can we do it again? You dumb cluck. What good are you? You're useless. Say that's not a nice thing to say. So I couldn't find the exact page, but what happens is Ronnie Raymond gets a camera and he sets it on automatic. No cell phones taking pictures at the time, and it shows him splitting from Firestorm to the Professor and Ronnie, and vice versa. So this is really good if you're a completist, and it's a great book in general. It's got that DC logo that looks like laundry detergent. It'll last but like a year or two. So Firestorm was gone, but shortly thereafter, like 2 years later, came back, but they called it Firestorm, the Fury of Firestorm, the Nuclear Man, because you demanded it, back in his own magazine. Love the color holds. Pat Broderick, fresh off of Micronauts, a really sensational run. And I picked this up because it was the first issue for one thing, and I was trying it out. How stupid is that ad for Swamp Thing the movie? I love how Adrienne Barbeau has her arm behind her back just to show her cleavage. That was like her thing for a while. She was not shy about that kind of stuff. So Firestorm is kind of weightless and laying on a cloud. Beautiful opening. And the professor's kind of saying, we could be doing something else. The Day of the Bison. Roden Rodriguez inks this book. And what's really cool about it is, after about 18 issues, Broderick leaves and Ronan Rodriguez takes over as penciler. It's really good. Gives it that sense of continuity. I love that. It changes molecular structure. Whoa! This is good too. I did a review of the Cyborg issue as well. So, I could take a cab to my apartment. Here's 20. Take care of it, okay? I served a lot of fun burgers at the local Bun and Run to put the cash aside. You really shouldn't. Hey, we're a team, remember? Man, such great storytelling. Pat Broderick. How about that? He's thinking George Perez when he does that thing. There's a hyena. Everybody shows up. It's old school week. There's Black Bison. What came out currently was Dr. Fate as a backup for Flash and replacing Firestorm. Arak, Son of Thunder, who was sort of Lee. I said it wrong. Roy Thomas's. I can't get my words straight. It's Roy Thomas's sort of version of Conan, since you couldn't do Conan, and then Saga of the Swamp Thing, and I think it was Martin Pascoe and Tom Yeats, and there's Captain Carrot, Amazing Zoo Crew, Green Lantern. So they're really giving their line a real makeover. So there's that, and this book astoundingly lasted 100 issues. 100 issues, and that's fantastic. And I really wish they would reprint this book. I don't know. They have their new version of Epic Collections, where it's large trade paperbacks. They're not coming out for a while, but I would love to get these. I don't know if I'd buy an omnibus because, I can only buy so many. It's a good way to go broke. Anyway, what happened is, halfway through the book, they had different creative teams. J.J. Birch, who is also, I think, Joe Brzezowski. One of them, for some reason, he has another name he uses for different projects. I don't know. I don't care. And this is issue 100. Around issues 60 or 70, Firestorm changed drastically. Love that logo. And there's no Ronnie Raymond or the Professor. Firestorm finds out he's a fire elemental, along the lines of Swamp Thing being an earth elemental. And that's really cool, actually. I mean, it takes a lot of guts to take a character and give him such an overhaul like that. And I read a couple issues of this and all, but he didn't have much personality. He wasn't, Ronnie Raymond, or whatever. He was very serious, and I get that. But the stories didn't have the full weight. Like Alan Moore could go on and on and on, and it's his dialogue and his storytelling was great. Now, Tom Mandrake did the last, 20 issues, and he did a really, really good job. I did a review of like issue 92 of this book. That is the bad guy from the Legends miniseries. It's kind of cool, but again, I don't know if I'd buy all the individual issues, but I have this talent. I have this mutant power that if I were to buy all 100 issues, DC would come out with an omnibus. I did that with She-Hulk. I got all the John Byrne She-Hulks, and they came out with an omnibus of that. So I got that, and I donate my books to the library, the loose books. And then there was something else. I just have this magic ability. Like the minute I start collecting stuff, then something will come out reprinting, and boy, that torques me off. So that's it, and I hope you enjoyed this episode despite my fumfering around for words. That's all.